Extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Milton is closing in on the western Florida coast. I'm Mike Naso with the latest 1 p.m. Eastern Time update on this very powerful hurricane. All of this energy is forcing itself right into the western coastline of Florida. It should make landfall later tonight, maybe in the wee hours of the morning. I don't think it's going to be that long. It's closing in pretty quick. We do have some animals warning us. Look at this on X. We have Blue Green Planet sharing that sandhill cranes are calling out, warning people. Listen to this. Very eerie. Here's the latest as of 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Hurricane Milton. It's at 26.2 north, 84.2 west. That puts it about 145 miles west of Fort Myers, Florida, or about 160 miles southwest of Tampa. Winds still 145 miles per hour, a very strong Category 4 hurricane. Had been weakening throughout the morning, but really irrelevant at this point with that water it's building up. Moving northeast faster at 17 miles per hour, 935 millibars. The Hurricane Center is saying it's expected to turn northeast with a slower forward speed later tonight. So we should see a little bit of an eastward turn and a slowdown, but it's closing in fast. Tropical storm force winds are just offshore. Now is the time to stay inside and get away from windows. Listen for updates and be ready just in case you lose power. Keep a battery-powered radio, charged cell phone, and flashlight handy. Again, we'll have another advisory at 2 p.m. As it closes in, we'll get hourly updates. So these videos you're watching may be slightly outdated just because the information's coming in so fast, it's hard to keep up. Here's the latest infrared satellite imagery of the hurricane, and again, obviously, the western side here is feeling that wind shear like we've been saying for days. That weakened it from a Category 5 down to a Category 4. Regardless of what intensity it makes landfall at, it's going to push a lot of high water right into the west coast of Florida. But it's not just the water, it's also the damaging winds, the crashing waves, and the threat of severe weather. Now here's the storm surge forecast as of 11 a.m. From Anna Maria Island all the way down to areas of Charlotte Harbor, 10 to 15 feet above normal tide levels. Further south down to Bonita Beach, 8 to 12 feet. That includes Charlotte Harbor. And then further south, areas like Naples, 5 to 8 feet above normal tide levels. Anywhere where you have the onshore flow around the hurricane is where you will have that storm surge. Look at this inundation level here possible with the hurricane. If I zoom in, some of these areas, the yellow is 3 feet above sea level, the orange is 6 feet, the red is 9, and it could be locally higher than that in some areas. So you're talking all of these regions here in Charlotte Harbor, and then up into rivers and streams and little areas there dealing with flooding. Cape Coral, Pine Island, Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach, you guys are going to be submerged. So make sure you're evacuated, and if you're not, you're near high ground. Get as far away from the water as you can and protect yourself from the wind. Again, this area here is really going to take a pounding from the surge. The hurricane is expanding its wind field, but it's not that large, thankfully. So really it's going to be right to the south of that eye. If the eye makes landfall near Sarasota, let's say you're talking Venice, all of these areas here, Manassoto Key, Charlotte Harbor, wherever it's to the south of the eye where you have that onshore flow. Now, in contrast, if you're north of the eye, if it comes in south of Tampa, you could see what you saw during Hurricane Ian back in 2022, reverse surge, where the water would push out around the hurricane from east to west. So again, we just don't know yet. Even as it closes in, we're not positive where exactly it's going to make landfall. Here's a video of the surf there in Naples, and that is a low tide. Low tide in Naples, and the fact that the surf is that rough means it is coming in, and it's going to come in fast. We did have a tornado in Metlaka, Florida down there, and look at this. This is from a weather cam. Watch it. As it comes right over, that is a tornado that impacted areas. People often forget we have severe weather with hurricanes. Look at this. Look at all these tornado warnings out of Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa, Melbourne, all the way through the Florida coast. Tornado warning after tornado warning. When I update it, as of quarter after 1 p.m., a tornado warning issued. And if we look at the radar here, There are a lot of them, and these are all in what looks like supercell thunderstorms almost, something you wouldn't even see in a hurricane as much. This is more indicative of Midwest severe weather, but these storms are moving straight to the north, all around the backside of the hurricane here, or the front side of the hurricane rather, and we'll have even more severe weather as the backside pushes in after the storm moves through. So the threat of tornado is very real. If I click on some of these, let's see, this is a radar indicated tornado near Arcadia. This one here is radar indicated. We did have that one I mentioned, which was near Cape Coral. That's now moved to the north. And then we have more radar indicated tornadoes. So a lot of this is based on Doppler radar. But obviously, as I showed you, we had some that were confirmed by video. And here's one that was observed way up here in the area north of Lake Okeechobee. So again, the entire Florida peninsula is dealing with severe weather. Obviously, there's the eye of Hurricane Milton. Not looking all of that great. It's obviously open here to the southwest, which is great news. Maybe it could get some dry air and weaken the winds. But again, even if this comes in as a Category 3 hurricane, the water it built up is the main threat, to say nothing of this severe weather that we're dealing with now. So, hurricane warnings in effect, and of course these tornado watches. This might be expanded north as the hurricane continues to pull towards the coast. So again, if you're hunkering down thinking, well, it's not that bad yet, or I'm inland, remember you have the threat of heavy rainfall and severe weather. So it's not just at the coast, but it's also inland with this hurricane. The key messages as of 11 a.m. for Hurricane Milton. Number one, the large area of destructive storm surge 10 feet or greater is expected along a portion of the west central coast of Florida. If you are in the storm surge warning area, this is an extremely life-threatening situation. The time to evacuate, if told to do so, is quickly coming to an end. Devastating hurricane force winds are expected along portions of the west coast of Florida. We have a hurricane warning in effect there, and it's forecast to remain a hurricane and spread very damaging hurricane force winds, especially in gusts, across the peninsula. That's why we have the hurricane warning all the way from the Martin-St. Lucie County line up to Ponte Vedra Beach, because on the eastern seaboard of Florida and straight across, they're going to deal with that as well. Preparations to protect life and property, including being ready for long-duration power outages, should be rushed to completion. Finally, heavy rainfall across the Florida peninsula will bring the risk of catastrophic and life-threatening flash and urban flooding, also moderate to major river flooding, especially in areas where coastal and inland flooding combine, where you have the water pushing in from the ocean and the sitting water from freshwater flooding. So again, a very, very bad news there. There's the visible satellite imagery. Still an impressive major hurricane taking aim at western Florida. The coastline obviously right here. If we look at where the hurricane is based on this radar, let's see here. You could do distance. If we look at the eye of the hurricane, how far is it from the coast? Not far, 115 miles or so, maybe 155 miles from Tampa. So it's closing in on the Florida coastline in the general direction of Tampa Bay. But anybody along the coastline needs to be prepared for the worst. I'm Mike Naso with continuing coverage of dangerous Hurricane Milton. I'll talk to you next time.